Hi everyone, welcome to Dustin the Blind Minnesotan podcast. Today I have a lot to catch up on because I haven't made a podcast episode in a while because I have been busy. So I'm going to explain to you guys today on the Dustin the Blind Minnesotan podcast episode today what I have been doing. And you can come along with this journey with me. So I got a new job at this corporation called Mike's Discount Foods. And what Mike's Discount Foods is, it's a grocery store chain for disabled people and people on low incomes to shop at. So we have a lot of stores, but I can tell you the Princeton location and the Fridley location are the two biggest locations and the two biggest stores that we have in the Mike's Discount Foods Corporation right now. So, and I work in the produce department. So, what I do is I just take the produce that comes from off the truck, put them in our fridge, then I put them from our fridge onto the store shelves. So, and I work 9.5 hour days. So when I get home from work, I'm tired because it takes me about 45 minutes to bus from work to home, and I have to wait 15 minutes for the bus. So, it takes me a good amount of time to get home from work, but getting to work, it's a little bit easier because, the way my schedule is. So I spend a lot of time just getting to my work and then working my 9.5 hour shift, waiting for the bus, and then taking the bus ride home from work. So my days end up being like 11 hours, 12-hour days, between the busing, the working, the busing back. And when I get home from, work, I'm not in the mood or don't have the energy to, record a podcast. So, and then I still live in Columbia Heights and I just take the 10 buses to go to work. I end up taking most days the 10N or the 10U bus routes to go to work. And so if you go on to the Dustin the Blind Minnesotan YouTube channel, where this podcast episode is going to end up. You can see my YouTube shorts I created recently about some of the traveling I had to do because of Easter a couple weeks ago and all that stuff. So just go to my YouTube channel and just go exploring. And then so Mike's Discount Foods, we get a lot of people on fixed incomes, and we get a lot of people with disabilities. So sometimes you have to have patience because some of our customers are not there in their right mind. Um, I get along with my coworkers at Mike's Discount Foods. Most of the people I work with are over like 35. So most of my coworkers at Mike's Discount Foods at my location are old enough to be my parents. So I'm like the young baby sometimes at work. But that's okay. Um and then, I got a new job. So yay. And then God, it's already been like a month ago. I went to the Fridley police station slash the Fridley city public safety building or whatever you want to call it these days. and I did pancakes with a cop. So what the pancakes with a cop was, it helped raise money for the youth program for the Fridley Police Department that helps teenagers learn how it's like to be a cop. So for the Fridley Police Department. So then, I went to the pancake breakfast, donated some money. So then, my old coworker Will, that's part of the program, can have money to do the program. Because they use the money to buy the teenagers like bulletproof vests, pepper spray, handcuffs, because the teenagers actually help the cops do arrests. So the teenagers really hop in the cop cars and go with the cops. And they get to see how the cops do their jobs and how they do them in Fridley. And the teenagers sometimes get to lay down like spike strips on the roads and stuff for drivers who are speeding and trying to get away from the cops. So so I did that. I went to go see my cousin Katie. She lives in St. Paul, so I went to go see her. Um, how I get to downtown St. Paul is I take the 10 bus all the way to downtown Minneapolis. Then I get off by the library, and then I walk to the Whole Foods in the downtown Minneapolis area and hop on the 3 bus. And then the 3 bus will take you all the way down to downtown St. Paul, where my cousin lives. And the reason why I take the 3 bus is because the 3 bus is way quicker than taking the green line light rail train. Because the green rail light rail train between downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul has so many stops, right? It's actually quicker to hop on a city bus like the 3 that only stops at a bus station when someone's standing there. So then it's easier and quicker just to hop on a city bus like the 3 to get to downtown St. Paul. And then the 3 goes from the North Loop in downtown Minneapolis where Whole Foods is. It goes through the U of M campus, through Falcon Heights, through Roseville, and then it goes down Snelling, and then it goes through Frogtown, and then past the Capitol building and into downtown St. Paul. So, I love the 3 bus because um, sometimes it takes the same amount of time as the Green Line train if it's like a Saturday or Sunday and there's a lot of people going between downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul. So then it's the same amount of time as taking the train. But if you're doing it on like a 3 bus on a Tuesday or Wednesday, the 3 buses can go way faster than the train. So went to go visit my cousin Katie in St. Paul. Um, my mom came up from Florida, so I visited with my mom. She was here about for 4 days. So then we went to go visit my family up in St. Cloud, and then we did things around Columbia Heights, and we went shopping together. I had a good time with my mom when she was up here. And then, I went to go see my brothers up in Blaine and got to spend time with them. Like Blaine, I have mixed feelings about as a city because, I like the new shopping malls in Blaine, all the new restaurants in Blaine. But how I feel like all these newer suburbs are just trying to copy Maple Grove. because Maple Grove, about 15 years ago, built a huge modern outdoor shopping center, and with mixed in with apartments and with the shopping center, you have restaurants like Panda, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, Five Guys. You mean, and Maple Grove built that concept about 20 years ago, and Maple Grove had such success with it. Modern suburbs like Blaine are just copying Maple Grove. You know what I mean? and and I like the feeling of that setup. But I feel like the new suburbs are not unique anymore, and they're all just trying to copy a Maple Grove, and so they all end up feeling the same. So now, like Blaine in Maple Grove feels familiar, and they have familiar vibes because Blaine is trying to copy Maple Grove. You mean the blueprint, the city blueprint, the kind of stores they have. You mean even Coon Rapids, is a clone of Maple Grove, another suburb city that's north of me that I have to go to shop a lot. It feels like a clone of Maple Grove because it is because they try to copy Maple Grove's idea. So when I go to newer suburbs like Blaine, Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, Plymouth, and even the St. Louis Park, they all kind of feel like the same and have the same kind of vibes. The one thing I like about living in Columbia Heights is, we have a lot of mom and pop businesses. So, like for example, we're getting a new like Mexican dance studio. So like you can dance and lose weight by dancing. You mean? And so we're getting a Somalian clothing shop. You mean? So we're getting a lot of mom and pop businesses. Well, like Blaine, Fridley, and Maple Grove, they have businesses, but none of them are like unique. Sorry, because a Panda Garden in Blaine is similar to a Panda Garden in Coon Rapids, and a Panda Garden in Coon Rapids is same to a Panda Garden in Maple Grove. You mean? So all the big corporate restaurants and fast food chains that go into these cookie cutter shopping malls and shopping centers that this new suburbs are just stealing from Maple Grove. You mean it kind of feels the same and it doesn't feel unique. Columbia Heights, because of all this mom and pop businesses, feels unique. And we do have big corporations like Family Dollar in Columbia Heights, but the Family Dollar Corporation is next to Discount 70. That's a mom and pop, furniture store. So at least in Columbia Heights and Fridley, you have a mixture of mom and pop and corporate, so you can have both. Um, And then, I went up to St. Cloud again to see, more family members and, and all that stuff. Um, yeah, so I have been a busy, busy, busy person. Um, my friend Donovic, that I went to school with in Rogers, Minnesota at Rogers High School, he finally got his own apartment down in St. Paul. So, a lot of things have been happening in my life, but there are a lot of, good things, a lot of things that you should be blessed with or blessed to have. Because some people have it worse than me right now in our blind and visually impaired community. So, I'm very blessed that I work at a grocery store. I have somewhat kind of a normal life. You mean, um, I'm single and I'm focusing on myself and I'm focusing on building my career. I know a lot of people don't see like working at a grocery store as a career, but what's happening is a lot of the 9 to 5 jobs, like in that are located in downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul, your traditional, I'm going to be a receptionist, or you mean whatever, those jobs are being replaced. And a lot of 9 to 5 jobs are being replaced by AI and artificial intelligence. So a lot of like the 9 to 5 jobs where you can actually have a career by kissing your boss's butt are going away because the management is just replacing them with AI chatbots. But, working in a grocery store like Mike's Discount Foods, you know, it's not really a career, but right now it offers more stability than going working in the like being a receptionist at Target, you know, at Target Corporate, because that lady 9 to 5, because that lady can lose her job anytime because of AI. So it's one of those things, no matter what I do, I'm kind of screwed. So at least with the grocery industry, stacking produce on shelves, it's going to be a while before they can replace me with AI. So, and then I haven't been to Bob's Produce Ranch in a while because, I was working 5 days a week with them, getting good evening hours. And then, they betrayed me and they brought me down to 1 day a week. And that couldn't have been enough to pay my bills. So then I had to go to a different store. So I don't really go to Bob's Produce Ranch in Fridley anymore because I'm too busy working and making podcast episodes, cleaning my house. You mean on the days off that Mike's gives me? You mean I don't really have time to visit people at Bob's anymore? A company who I felt betrayed me. But you know, But and I don't blame Bob's Produce Ranch because they're trying to save money, and in the winter when the sales are slow, I get it. Lay me off to save money, but the part that ticked me off was they were not transparent about it. Like they wish they would came up to me and said, "Hey Dustin, next month we're cutting you down to 1 day a week because of budgeting." You mean then I could mentally prepare for it, maybe get a second job, or whatever, and then prepare for it, and then when it does happen, I'm financially ready. But I don't work at Bob's Produce Ranch in Fridley anymore, so it's not my problem. I'm moving on, but I just wanted to stay transparent with you guys about that about that current situation because it was very hard for me to leave Bob's Produce Ranch to find something I need that'll help me pay my bills. So that's the kind of stuff I've been, up to lately. And then I've been making some new friends at Mike's Discount Foods. Some of my new friends live, in Anoka, Coon Rapids, Blaine. One of them lives in northern St. Paul, and they literally take the bus from St. Paul to downtown Minneapolis, and then from downtown Minneapolis all the way to work, where we work. So I respect this. I respect him taking an hour and a half to get to work each way on public transportation because he doesn't have a car. because he's an immigrant and he hasn't have his license yet and a car yet. Because in America right now, everything's so expensive that you can barely you can barely survive in America on minimum wage. You're living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, living in a slummy place just so you can make it by on minimum wage in America. But and then my vision is getting a little worse. So my low vision eye specialist said gave me a prescription so I can go get stronger glasses if I want. But because with medical assistance, you're only allowed to get glasses every 2 years. I can't get a new pair of glasses because it hasn't been 2 years yet. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to lately. I know my life is kind of boring. Well, I hope if you guys have any questions, numbered on the Spotify app, you can leave comments. And then on the YouTube app, you can leave comments. So I hope you guys have a good day. Bye bye.